So there's something I've been building quietly in the background. I haven't really talked about it here yet, not properly at least. But I'm getting close to a point where it starts to make sense to start opening up about it. So this is the beginning, the very first beginning of that reveal. For a while now, I've been recording bedtime stories for B1, B2 English learners. Very short, slow-paced stories made specifically for that target audience, coming from a non-native speaker, in English, because my first language is Dutch and then French. The full story behind it, why I'm doing this, and what the actual goal is, what I'm trying to build, I'll get into all of that in future episodes because it deserves its own explanation. And but I'm not ready to give that yet because I also have other goals that I highlighted a few episodes ago. But I wanted to at least put it out here, and the project is called StoryBrew. And here's what I can tell you right now. I'm close to approaching 25 recorded stories, anywhere between 4 minutes up to 10 almost per episode, per story. And that's a milestone that I didn't really plan for. It just crept up on me. I was recording one story at a time first, winging it, finding the right rhythm, adjusting the tone, and figuring out what feels natural. And then I suddenly looked up, and I'm almost at 25, and that feels like something worth acknowledging. And so I'll be documenting this journey as it unfolds, the building of it, the distribution decisions, what works, what doesn't, because that's partly, what this journal is for, to track things as they're happening, not in hindsight. So if you keep listening to these episodes, you're going to watch StoryBrew develop in real time. I think that's more interesting than a more polished version or a more polished case study after the facts anyway. So now in terms of where the stories actually live, I started on Spotify for creators. That is my publishing hub. And from there, I distribute them to Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. I also put them on Substack, by the way. Not yet. Sorry, I'm planning to put them on Substack. I'm also planning to add them on YouTube. But the first three platforms, I think that's a solid base, and it means the content is findable across major listening apps without me having to manage 3 separate uploads every time. But I do want to note something and flag something about Spotify, because it really annoys the fuck out of me, the transcripts. Like, Spotify doesn't let them add you manually, and they don't auto transcribe either, at least not in the way that's accessible or usable on my end. So because of that, I also created a tiny website for StoryBrew where I add the transcripts. But Apple Podcasts, on the other hand, they do it automatically. You publish, and within a fairly short window, there's a transcript attached to the episode. No extra steps, it just freaking happens. And I think that's exactly how it should work. And it matters, especially for a show built around language learning. The transcript isn't just a nice to have, it's just part of the value, I believe. So Apple gets that right for me, and Spotify is very frustrating on that front. This journal, the one you're listening to right now, is also now on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Substack, which I added also recently. The reasoning is very simple, though. I mean, I wanted to have both shows to reach as wide as an audience as possible across the channels that people actually use, because not everyone uses Spotify. In some countries, it's not even allowed. Some people don't have a subscription. I mean, you don't need a subscription to listen to the content, though. But a lot of people, they also live in Apple's ecosystem. Some might prefer Amazon. Some fellow creators, on Substack. So I'd rather cover the ground than leave reach on the table. It does mean managing a few more moving parts, which I honestly underestimated in the beginning, but now I found that that rhythm. And honestly, the distribution itself isn't that complicated once the publishing workflow is set up. The content goes in one place, I record it. I I I distribute it to Spotify first, then it automatically pushes to Amazon and Apple Podcasts. I still have to do manually Substack, and I will add YouTube in the short-term future. Anyway, it flows out everywhere else basically, and that's the goal: minimal overhead, maximum reach. And I think that's where things stand right now. StoryBrew is getting close to those 25 stories. I'm aiming for 50 to 100 first. And I think I will jack up the pace because at the end of the day, it's very evergreen content, right? And then maybe reduce the pace, but at least have a substantial library of stories for English learners. And I'm starting now to document this whole thing more openly, episode by episode. So there's more to explain about StoryBrew, about the thinking behind it, but that's coming. For now, this is where we are. And thank you for listening.